Consciousness is the one thing that we all experience. Everybody experiences consciousness, and we experience this every single day, 24/7, yet we don't know a single thing about it. We don't know a single thing about it. It's the most mysterious thing ever, and that is truly mind-blowing to me. I've always been interested in the topic of consciousness since I was 14, 15, 16. That's when I discovered Eckhart Tolle and the power of now. That's what opened my mind and my eyes to wanting to know more about it. That's also what got me into a journey of introspection. And it never stopped since then. I've had phases where I would think about it more, and phases where I would focus on other things to think about. But recently, these days, it's come up again. I think that my views are changing. My views on consciousness and just a general attitude or perspective towards it is shifting, maybe maturing, if that's a good word to put it. So for the longest time, for a big chunk of my life, I've been a very science girl. I've wanted to become a physicist. That was the plan, that was the goal, that was my career path that I set out to do since I was a kid. I went to school for it. I did a bachelor's in physics. And for the longest time, I think I believed that everything could be explained with science. Everything could be explained with physics. As I'm getting older and getting more life experiences, that has been shifting. I don't think science can or physics can explain everything that there is. Put another way, I think it's very limiting, a limiting perspective, a very limited and concise and small point of view to have to believe that only physics and science can explain everything. Explain life, the universe, consciousness, everything. So I want to give a couple of examples here that I thought of or that came up to my mind that got me thinking, how do you explain this? And the topic, it's a bit of a divergence, but I think I believe that they are related. So I'm going to talk a bit about synchronicity. And when I say synchronicity, I don't mean the type where if you look at the clock and it says 11:11, oh, you better make a wish. I'm not talking about that kind of synchronicity. I'm talking about synchronicity that happens between conscious beings. Synchronicity that happens in conscious beings. For example, flocks of birds, schools of fish. A lot of these synchronicities can be seen in nature. In fact, I'm pretty sure we have all experienced it at least once in our lifetime. We might have acknowledged it, we might have noticed it, and be like, oh, that's kind of cool that it happened. But then we kind of like just brush it off like it's not that important and just carry on with our day. So going back to flocks of birds and schools of fish. When flocks of birds fly together in a flock, oftentimes they fly in a pattern that works for them without bumping into each other, without having everyone diverting to different paths in the sky while they fly in a group. They somehow seem to know what to do amongst themselves without any communication. Like, you don't ever see birds talking to each other. You don't see birds quacking at each other saying, "Hey, you do this, you fly that way. We're gonna turn left here." That just doesn't happen. Oh, also, I see this all the time. When pigeons are together in a group, sometimes I see them just taking off, just flying all together at the same time for whatever reason. Of course, if there's some kind of stimuli such as a car or a bicycle about to go into their direction, they're gonna obviously fly away. But some other times there seems to be no stimuli, no reason for them to just be taking off, and they just do it. And whenever I witness that, I'm like, wow, like how did they know to fly all together at the same time? Same with schools of fish. I find that super fascinating. I think that's also something that we don't really know how it works. We might have an idea of the mechanism of it, but I don't think we actually truly really know how it works and how the fish do it. So when I talk about schools of fish, you know, when you have like hundreds of fish all and grouped together, I don't know what type of fish do this. Sardines? Sardines? I think sardines do this, but you know those types of fish that form a giant tornado-like looking structure in the water. They just know how to swim without bumping into each other. They know which direction to go. They're not always going in a straight line. Maybe they're spinning, but they do it in a way that doesn't interfere with the path of the other, but that they're continuously going in formation that is coherent to the group. If you look at it from the outside, it almost looks like a fluid-like structure, just one fluid-like structure moving together. But actually, it's comprised of a bunch of individual fish. That is so fascinating. And I'm sure there's a lot more examples of that kind of synchronicity happening in nature. And how does this tie to consciousness? Well, I mean, animals don't communicate with each other. I mean, no, I take that back. Some animals do communicate with each other in some ways, but most of the time, there's a lot of non-verbal communication. Let's put it that way. There's no verbal communication happening like there is between humans. It almost, looking from our perspective, it looks like they're not talking to each other. They're not communicating with each other. I think what it comes down to it is intuition. Animals are highly, highly intuitive. They live their moment-to-moment lives following their instincts, following their intuition. And that's something that probably allows them to reach that level of synchronicity among each other. Interestingly enough, I think for us humans, it's the opposite. I think we have lost touch with our instincts, with our intuition. We probably do carry the same level of intuition that animals might have. But I think because of our higher level of intelligence, let's just put it that way, our capacity to self-reflect, to be introspective, to know ourselves, to be aware of ourselves, to problem solve, to learn languages, communicate with each other verbally. All of these higher levels of intelligence have pushed down or pushed aside our intuitions. Yeah. Right. So we lost touch with our intuitions, and so in some sense, in one way, losing touch with reality, with life, with what is. I mean, think about it. We're not living in nature. Most of us are not even surrounded by nature. Right now, I'm surrounded by this wall with paint on it. Thankfully, there's some plants in the house, but you know, it's not enough. With urbanization, industrialization that happened in human history, in human society, it really just more and more got us further away from nature. And I think that's very crucial, and that's very important to just be in touch with ourselves a bit more deeply, to have more intuition, and to learn to follow our intuitions. And intuition is also something that's very mysterious. How does it work? How does intuition, synchronicity, consciousness, how do these work? It's a mystery, but these are all tied very closely together, I believe. And that's something I realized very, very recently. Going back to humans, let me give you an example. In theater class, when I took it back in my college days, the one activity that really stuck to me, and I wish we had done more often, was all the students, everyone had to stand somewhere in the room. Just pick a spot and stand, including the teacher. And we had to close all of our eyes. Everyone had to have their eyes closed. And when we feel the urge to move, we take a step. We all take a step. And oh man, I'm getting goosebumps. Like this, I know it's possible. It's been done before. Unfortunately, not with my class, not on that particular day, but it has happened where everyone would have their eyes closed and they would take a step at the same time, at exactly the same time, without even knowing what other people are doing when other people are taking their step. I don't think it's coincidence, first of all, because yeah, anyone could take a step anytime. The chances of everyone taking a step together at the same time while their eyes are closed is very, very slim. And I don't think it's chance. I don't think it happens by chance. I think it's by just following our intuition. It's really just that. It's following our intuition. And it's so crazy. It's so crazy. And I think it's very similar to how what I mentioned before with the schools of fish, flocks of birds, their movement is in sync the same way that taking the step at the same time with other people is to be in sync. Oh man, goosebumps, man. Goosebumps. This is so fascinating. What I'm coming to realize is perhaps there's a way physics could explain it, but not in the classical sense, not in the sense that not at a scale, at a macroscopic scale. For example, you know, all the laws that exist, things that we have discovered at a macroscopic level cannot explain how cannot explain consciousness. Point final. I think it's quite promising to think that maybe quantum physics could have some explanation. And I'm just discovering this now. I've been reading a book by Federico Faggin called Irreducible. It sounds quite promising. I think he's onto something. I really think he's onto something. Because quantum physics is also something that we don't fully understand. It's a level that we're not capable of imagining or living in. We can't live in the quantum world. So it's really hard. It's really hard for us to imagine how it works. How things work in the quantum world is so different from our reality in this macroscopic scale. I'm still trying to grasp the concept, and maybe I'll get back to making another video sometime in the future, but for now, this is the discovery that I had, and it's very liberating. It's a liberating feeling for some reason, knowing all this, because for myself, I can feel it. I think I can feel it. I think I hope what I'm feeling is true and real. Everything that I mentioned about intuition, I think I can feel it for myself. I consider myself to be quite an intuitive person, I think. There's a lot of things that I do or decide to do based on what I think is my intuition. But yeah, that was a whole lot to talk about. It's like still feeling some goosebumps as they're settling down now, but yeah. I'll hopefully get back to more of this kind of stuff later.